Hey, what's up, gamers? You know I love talking about amazing games, but today we're flipping the script. We're diving into games that you absolutely shouldn't play, and more importantly, you shouldn't spend your hard-earned money on. These are the ones that missed the mark so badly it's almost unbelievable. From broken mechanics to false promises and flat-out disasters. Now, I know this is subjective and maybe some of you actually enjoyed these games. Hey, no judgment. Let me know in the comments. Gaming is all about different perspectives. Let's start. Ubisoft's Assassin's Creed Shadows was anticipated as a groundbreaking entry in the series, set in the intriguing era of feudal Japan. However, upon its release, it became evident that the game fell short of expectations, leading to widespread disappointment among fans and critics alike. One of the primary criticisms centers on the protagonist, Yasuke, an African samurai. Many players found his movements to be uncharacteristically cumbersome for an assassin. Yasuke's imposing stature and heavy armor render him the most clumsy assassin in the franchise history, significantly hindering the fluid parkour and stealth mechanics that are hallmarks of the series. In contrast, the secondary character Naoe, a female shinobi, offers a more traditional Assassin's Creed experience with her agility and stealth capabilities. This disparity between the two protagonists has led to a disjointed gameplay experience, leaving players yearning for the seamless mechanics of earlier titles. Furthermore, the game has been embroiled in controversy regarding its historical accuracy and character representation. Critics have accused Ubisoft of prioritizing diversity over authenticity, leading to heated debates within the gaming community. Given these issues, many fans feel that Assassin's Creed Shadows deviates from the core elements that once defined the series. The clunky mechanics combined with the surrounding controversies have led to a consensus that this installment is a misstep for the franchise. Players are advised to approach this title with caution, as it may not deliver the experience that long-time fans have come to expect. It feels like a cheap copy of Ghost of Tsushima, and Ubisoft should take the potential failure of this game as a lesson to do better next time. What do you think? Let's continue with Ubisoft. Skull and Bones set sail with high expectations, promising an unparalleled pirate adventure. However, upon its release, the game was met with a storm of criticism, leading many to label it as one of the most disappointing titles in recent memory. Initially announced in 2013, the game underwent numerous delays, with development reportedly plagued by internal challenges. Despite the prolonged development period, the final product felt rushed and incomplete. Players quickly noticed a lack of meaningful exploration, with the open-world environment feeling barren and lifeless. The much-touted naval combat, which was expected to be the game's highlight, was criticized for being repetitive and lacking depth. Beta testers had previously raised concerns about the game's lackluster missions and uninspired gameplay loops. These warnings went unheeded, and the final release did little to address these fundamental issues. The game's ambitious quadruple A label seemed increasingly ironic as players grappled with a title that failed to meet even basic expectations. In the end, Skull and Bones serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of over-promising and under-delivering. The game's myriad shortcomings have led many to advise against purchasing it, suggesting that players' time and money would be better spent elsewhere. Developed by Arkane Studios, renowned for titles like Dishonored and Prey, Redfall was anticipated to be a standout co-op shooter set in a vampire-infested open world. However, upon its release, the game was met with a barrage of criticism, leaving many to question how such a promising title could falter so significantly. One of the most glaring issues was the game's technical performance. Players reported frequent bugs, ranging from minor graphical glitches to game-breaking errors that rendered certain missions unplayable. The artificial intelligence of enemies was notably subpar, with vampires and human adversaries alike displaying erratic and often nonsensical behavior. The game's world, while expansive, felt devoid of life and engagement. Many eras appeared copy-pasted, leading to a sense of monotony as players traversed the environment. The narrative, which had the potential to be rich and immersive, was criticized for being shallow and disjointed, failing to provide a compelling reason to invest in the game's universe. Combat mechanics, a crucial aspect of any shooter, were also found lacking. Gunplay felt unsatisfying, with weapons lacking the necessary impact and feedback. The promised variety in play styles and characters' abilities was underwhelming, leading to repetitive gameplay that failed to capture the player's interest. In summary, Redfall stands as a stark reminder that even studios with a storied history can stumble. The game's myriad issues have led many to recommend steering clear of this title, as it fails to deliver on its ambitious promises. Bethesda's Fallout 76 was envisioned as a bold new direction for the beloved franchise, transitioning from a single-player experience to an online multiplayer adventure. However, the game's launch was marred by a series of missteps that have since become infamous in the gaming community. Upon release, players were greeted with a plethora of technical issues. Bugs and glitches were rampant, ranging from visual anomalies to severe performance problems that caused frequent crashes. The game's engine, which had shown its age in previous titles, struggled to support the online infrastructure, leading to a host of connectivity issues. The decisions to exclude human NPCs was another point of contention. This choice led to a world that felt empty and devoid of the rich storytelling elements that fans had come to expect from the series. Quests were delivered through holotapes and robotic characters, which lacked the depth and engagement of human interactions. The game's microtransaction model further alienated players. Items that were initially promised to be purely cosmetic were later monetized in questionable ways, leading to accusations of greed on Bethesda's part. The pay-to-win mechanics further aggravated the community. Fallout 76's disastrous launch also saw controversies over its expensive Power Armor Edition, which promised high-quality items including a canvas bag, but delivered a cheap nylon version instead. The backlash was so severe that it led to formal apologies and replacement program. Despite several updates and improvements over time, Fallout 76 is often cited as a prime example of poorly executed live service game. While it may have some dedicated players now, many still consider it a cautionary tale about rushed releases and unfulfilled promises. Anthem was supposed to be BioWare's grand leap into the live service genre. With stunning visuals and the promise of thrilling jetpack-powered combat, players were eager to dive into the futuristic world. However, what followed was a monumental disaster. Upon launch, Anthem was riddled with problems. The core issue, a complete lack of meaningful content. The missions felt repetitive, with most objectives lives boiling down to defeat waves of enemies, collect an item, and move to the next one. Despite the beautiful environments, the world felt empty and soulless. Technical issues plagued the game as well, with severe crashes, poor optimization, and bizarre bugs. Even the much hyped load system turned out to be a letdown, offering little incentive for players to grind. The narrative, something BioWare was once famed for, was shallow and fragmented. Players quickly lost interest in the characters and storylines, which lacked the emotional weight seen in Mass Effect or Dragon Age. BioWare's once golden reputation took a severe hit with this release. Anthem's post-launch roadmap was filled with promises and expansions and improvements that never fully materialized. EA and BioWare eventually abandoned the project, leaving players with an incomplete and disappointing experience. It's a game that's now remembered more for its failure than any redeeming qualities. When Blizzard announced Overwatch 2, fans were excited. The original Overwatch had been a game changer in the hero shooter genre, fostering a vibrant community and an esports scene. However, Overwatch 2 became a lesson in how not to handle a sequel. The first red flag was the confusion surrounding what Overwatch 2 actually was. Instead of a complete new game, it felt more like an expansion or a patch for the original. Core gameplay remained largely unchanged, and many players questioned why it warranted the title Overwatch 2. One of the biggest controversies was the monetization system. The move from loot boxes to a battle pass and paid cosmetics outraged fans. Players who had spent years collecting skins in the first game felt betrayed when those collections became irrelevant. Blizzard's decision to shut down the PvE story missions that were promised as the core differentiator for Overwatch 2 further soured the community. What was left felt like a hollow shell of what Overwatch once was. Many critics and fans alike see Overwatch 2 as a cash grab that failed to honor the legacy of its predecessor. While some players may still enjoy the core gameplay, the overall experience feels like a step backward. Blizzard's reputation took a major hit, and many fans still advise skipping this sequel altogether. The Lord of the Rings Gollum was supposed to offer a unique perspective on Tolkien's beloved universe, playing as Gollum himself, navigating stealth sections and exploring Middle-earth sounded intriguing on paper. However, the execution left much to be desired. Upon release, the game was lambasted for its outdated graphics, clunky mechanics, and uninspired level design. Critics described Gollum's animation as awkward and unnatural, detracting from the immersion. The environments, which should have been lush and detailed, looked barren and unfinished. The narrative, while attempting to explore Gollum's split personality and inner turmoil, failed to capture the depth of Tolkien's world. Voice acting was often grating, and the dialogue felt really bad. Performance issues further marred the experience, with frame rate drops and visual glitches common throughout the game. Players who expected a polished and engaging adventure were left bitterly disappointed. Despite being set in one of the most beloved fictional universes, The Lord of the Rings Gollum stands as a cautionary tale of wasted potential. It's a game that many regret buying, and one that even die-hard Tolkien fans are better off avoiding.
We can't find it! The precious is gone!
After a staggering 15 years of development hell, Duke Nukem Forever finally saw the light of day. Unfortunately, it would have been better off remaining in development limbo. The game was a relic of the past, stuck in an outdated design philosophy that felt jarring in a modern gaming landscape. The humor, once cheeky and irreverent, now came off as crass and juvenile. Many jokes failed to land, making the experience more cringe-worthy than entertaining. Gameplay was clunky and uninspired, level were linear, combat lacked depth, and the much-anticipated gunplay felt lackluster. Duke's arsenal of witty one-liners couldn't save the game from mediocrity. Graphically, the game looked dated even at the time of its release. The textures were muddy, character models looked awkward, and the overall presentation felt unfinished. After such a lengthy development cycle, expectations were sky high. The final product, however, was a massive letdown. Duke Nukem Forever serves as a cautionary tale about development mismanagement and the dangers of holding onto outdated concepts for too long. Chronicles of Elyria is infamous for being one of the most blatant scams in gaming history. Promised as a groundbreaking MMO with innovative features like aging characters, dynamic kingdoms, and permanent death, the game sounded almost too good to be true, and as it turned out, it was. The developers, Soulbound Studios, raised millions of dollars through crowdfunding. However, after years of development, backers began to grow suspicious as progress updates became sparse and vague. In 2020, Soulbound Studios abruptly announced that the development was ceasing, citing financial difficulties. The backlash was immediate, with many backers accusing the studio of mismanaging funds and engaging in deceptive practices. Legal battles ensued, and the game's reputation was forever tarnished. To this day, Chronicles of Elyria is a cautionary tale about the dangers of crowdfunding and the importance of transparency from developers. While many fans praised Pokémon Legends Arceus for its attempt at shaking up the traditional Pokémon formula, it was not without its critics. One of the most common complaints centered around the graphics, which were described as dated and underwhelming. Despite being released on the Nintendo Switch, the game looked more like a title from the early 2000s. The textures were flat, the environments lacked detail, and the overall visual presentation felt uninspired. Gameplay, while innovative in some aspects, was criticized for being repetitive. Catching Pokémon became monotonous over time, and the open-world areas felt sparse and empty. Performance issues further detracted from the experience, with frame rate drops and occasional glitches. Many players felt that Game Freak had rushed the title, failing to fully realize its potential. While some hardcore fans may still find enjoyment in Pokémon Legends Arceus, others recommend waiting for a more polished entry in the franchise. The game stands as a reminder that innovation without proper execution can lead to disappointment. Sometimes it's important to call out the bad stuff in gaming so developers get the message. We want better, not broken promises or cash grabs. What do you think? Did I miss any major gaming disasters? Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this little roast session, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Until next time, happy gaming everyone, and spend your money wisely. Bye bye.